Hi, I'm Seyi, and I wanted to share little tidbits of my spiritual journey with you. I have been on a quest to fall in love with myself and to find my true self since probably like 2007, probably all my life, but like I've been on a really active quest to find out who I really am and yeah, to fall in love with my true self and to allow my true self to really shine and thrive and come through in everything that I do. Since December 2007, when I watched a DVD of The Secret, which is about the law of attraction. And since then, I've done loads of workshops and read hundreds of books and studied the law of attraction and loads of different things. But today I'm going to share a little story with you about my journey to cutting off my hair and all the trials and negative thinking and all the thought processes and the physical processes that I actually went through to get to the stage where I could actually bring myself to follow the guidance that I received and cut off my afro, which is actually like a really huge thing for me. So it all began. I mean, I've been thinking about cutting my hair, and I felt like I'd been guided to do it a few times in the past. Like when I first started on my journey, I felt like I just want a fresh start and just get rid of my hair because it had always been very much, I'd spent so much money and time and energy putting into my hair, and it was never good enough, and my perfectionism always kind of made it so, if one hair was out of place, then I couldn't leave the house until it was perfect. And that was especially when I used to have it straightened, like chemically straightened and relaxed. And then when I started opening up spiritually and having a relationship with God, and I decided that I wanted to go natural, so I stopped using any kind of chemicals, and I stopped using heat treatments on my hair and stopped straightening it. And eventually, after like 4 or 5 years, I had this really awesome afro. And I've written a blog post on my blog, which is a Tumblr blog, and it's a recipe for happiness, which I'll put links down below in the description part of this video. So anyway, I'd cultivated this amazing afro, and I loved it. I loved my hair, and that's one of the things that I had to learn, was kind of to love the hair that God had given me, like just to love the natural texture and understand that it's never going to be blonde and thick and wavy and going to do this. It's just never going to do that. All my life I'd been dissatisfied because my hair wasn't like that, and and I would do anything to try and have long, beautiful hair. So, but eventually I got to this place where I love my hair and I love my body, but I loved my afro. And then about just almost a month ago now, I went to Bali on holiday with some friends, and it was more than a holiday. It was an awakening. It was like a spiritual awakening, and it was just really beautiful and really confirmed a lot of my dreams about myself and about my future. And one of the really awesome aspects of it was that everywhere I went, people were just like, I love your hair, it's amazing, can I touch it? I love your hair. And, I don't mind people touching my hair as long as they ask, so I'd let people touch my hair, and they're like, oh, where can I get your hair from? Like the Indonesian people were just loving the hair. And, I love attention, so who's not going to lap it up? So but when I got back, I was like, really, like, I kind of felt like it had really massaged my ego, and, I was feeling a lot of self-love. But inside of me, like, I felt this little urge to cut it, and I was like, please, God, no, like, please don't make me do this. Like, why do I have to cut my hair? And the urge wouldn't go away. So after a week of being back, I compromised and I negotiated with God. I was like, okay, so I'm going to cut off like 4 inches. and my hair might not have looked that long, but it was kind of like about down to here. But because it was in the afro and quite tight curls, it was around my head, but it was actually quite long, so I could easily cut off 4 inches, and it still looked like an afro, and it looked great. So I did that, and then and then it just didn't feel right. But I went into shock because that was like the most amount of hair that I'd cut off my head. Like when I trimmed my hair, like I trimmed like 5 millimeters, if that. Like I'd get upset if I went over 5 millimeters, And so when I cut off that amount of hair, I went in shock and I started beating myself up about it, and I just felt really crazy, and I was like, "What's going on here?" But it just felt wrong. It was just like, I'm not being obedient. I'm not following my guidance. I'm not following my intuition. And so I left it for another week of like feeling really bad about myself, and then eventually I just broke down and I went to my lodger crying. I was like, "Can you just cut my hair off?" And she was like, "Are you sure?" I don't, because she's not a hairdresser or anything, but I was just like, "I trust you, just cut it." And so she did, but she left like quite a long bit here, so it was quite it was quite a funky hairstyle. It was kind of like short and then had some curly bits on top. It looked really nice. And I was like, "That's really nice. I really like it." And I've got some long bits that I can still play with. And and I kind of accepted it much more than the first time I cut it, because I'd kind of got used to it. But it still was challenging. And I just couldn't... It just felt wrong. It felt like I'd still not done something right. And eventually I did a process, and I was really, I spent this week fasting and doing a lot of prayer and meditation, and all the while it was just like, "You need to finish cutting your hair. You need to finish cutting your hair." And I was just like, "But I've finished cutting it. I don't need to cut off anymore." I always have these kind of discussions with my angels and my spiritual team, because I think I know best, but actually they generally know better than I do. So anyway, I'm having these discussions with my spiritual team and trying to negotiate not having to cut my hair. And eventually on Wednesday night, the other night, I was just like, I need some peace around this. And so I did some writing, and every night I have certain processes, and I just wanted to share a process that really helped me get through and get to a stage of loving myself and really falling in love with myself again. Because all week I'd been beating myself up because I hadn't been listening to my guidance, and I'd been beating myself up because I had listened and I'd cut it and it wasn't exactly how I knew I was meant to cut it. And so one of the things that I do every night before I go to bed is sit and write a list of positive aspects about myself. So I kind of took that idea from Abraham Hicks. And so I write this list of positive aspects about myself and 3 other people. And so on the other night, I wrote this list. I started writing a list, and the first thing that I wrote was, "I am awesome." And I was just like, well, why am I awesome? Like, what's that all about? And so I just felt like writing, "So I am awesome because I keep trying, even though at times it feels like I might as well just give up and go back to the old ways. But I don't, I keep on going." And then I wrote, "I'm beautiful because I have skin that is even toned and smooth all over my body, and that I have a figure that, that people work really hard for, and I don't do that much work on my body. Like, I exercise every day, but not that much." So I went down and I wrote, "I'm powerful because I'm a princess, because I'm special, because I'm precious, because..." And I wrote instead of just writing "I'm precious," I'm all these things, I wrote "because," like I wrote evidence. And I think this is partly because I've been doing a bit of Byron Katie work, like a bit of the work by Byron Katie, and partly because of something that I read in a text teaching that's been channeled by Robert Theis via from Archangel Michael. which is about the ego and how the ego, they call it like the little photographer. And what the ego does is it takes all these photos, all of your life, of all the negative stuff that happens. And then and then by the law of attraction, as soon as you start thinking a negative thing about yourself or about someone else, then it brings out these photo albums and it says, and look here, and look, this is when this happened too, and this is when this same thing happened too. And so it kind of compounds and it just makes you feel really crap, basically. And so I just thought, well, I can flip the switch on that. I can flip the script and I can be like, so where is the evidence of the good stuff? Like, where's the evidence of when I have been beautiful, and where's the evidence of when I've been nice to myself, and where's the evidence of when I've been gentle and kind and loving? And so that's what I wrote, and that just like, I'd been down on myself all day. I'd got angel, like my mermaid and dolphin cards were like, you need to be more gentle with yourself, and all these things were saying to me, you need to stop beating up on yourself. And this one little process that took me 20 minutes just completely changed the way I felt. Not even 20 minutes, like 10 minutes, 10-minute bit of writing. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to share that with you because it really helped me. And right now, and then yesterday, I was just like surrendered, and I was like, you know what? That was the day after I did that writing, and I was just like, you know what, God, I'm going to do it. I'm going to cut off the rest of that hair. And you're probably thinking right now, what was all the fuss about? Because it looks awesome. I know it looks awesome. God knew it was going to look awesome. But it took me that process to get to this point. You know, I was afraid that I was going to look ugly. I was afraid I would have like a bad shaped head. You know, got a great shaped head. I was afraid that I'd look like a boy. I was afraid that I wouldn't look feminine. I wouldn't feel feminine. You know, that my self-esteem would plummet. But actually, because I listened to my guidance, because I've been obedient, because I am looking at myself through God's eyes, and because I am actually beautiful, and it doesn't matter what's going on the outside, I'm beautiful anyway. You know, all these things, I'm just like, I'm rocking the short haircut and I love it. And it's a massive change, but the peace and the relief that I felt when I finally was just like, you know what, I'm just going to do it and I'm going to own it. And yeah, so I just felt like sharing that with you. And yeah, so that was my first ever vlog post. I hope you liked it. If you did, then like it. And subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be doing loads more. I've got so many ideas to share with you, like my books and my journals that I cover, and God jars and how to make them, and how to make little presents for people, you know, like really creative stuff. So yeah, so keep coming back and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter at a recipe number 4 happy. I'll put it all below, and I'll put some links to the people that I've mentioned here as well. And I'll put the link to my blog post about my hair, because that will have photos of how I was before, the process of cutting it, and like the before, during and after phases of this whole process. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Bye.